He ran faster than any white man in history, and then stood still, changing history with silence. Mexico City, 1968. As the crowd roared beneath the hot Olympic sun, a quiet man from Australia stepped onto the podium. Peter Norman had just won silver in the 200-meter sprint, standing between Tommie Smith and John Carlos, the two Black American athletes who raised their fists in the now iconic Black Power salute. But while history froze on their defiance, no one noticed the quiet rebellion standing between them. Peter Norman wore a badge. It was small, black and white. It read, Olympic Project for Human Rights. He wasn't Black. He wasn't American. He was a white man from Melbourne. But when Smith and Carlos told him their plan in the locker room before the ceremony, Peter didn't flinch. He didn't hesitate. "I'll stand with you," he said. Peter Norman asked if they had another badge. He wanted one. They didn't, so Carlos gave him his own. And when they took the podium, Peter stood still as statues, his chest bearing the same emblem of protest. No clenched fists, no speech, just presence, just solidarity. That's what made it even louder. Back in Australia, there was no hero's welcome, no parades, no medals. Peter Norman returned home to a wall of silence. He had qualified for the 1972 Olympics, outright. But he wasn't selected, no official reason given. For a man who had broken national records and raced with the best in the world, his career ended in silence. Jobs disappeared, sponsorships dried up, and while Smith and Carlos became global icons of resistance, Peter faded into obscurity, his act too quiet, too inconvenient for the times. Even decades later, Australia never formally acknowledged what he had done. Peter never complained, but the silence cut deep. He struggled with depression. He worked odd jobs, sometimes as a teacher, sometimes in meatpacking plants. His once legendary legs now carried pain, not podium dreams, but he always stood by what he did that day. And Tommie Smith and John Carlos? They never forgot. When Peter died in 2006, they flew to Australia and carried his coffin. They called him a brother, a man of principle, a third fist, unraised but not unseen. 6 years later, in 2012, long after his death, Australia's parliament issued a formal apology. They acknowledged the mistreatment. They acknowledged the exclusion. And finally, they acknowledged the man who stood for justice, when it cost him everything. Peter Norman wasn't erased by history. He was buried beneath it. But truth has a strange way of resurfacing. Today, his legacy lives on in bronze statues, in school textbooks, and in the hearts of those who believe that silence, when shared with the oppressed, is its own kind of roar. He didn't raise a fist. He didn't take a knee. But Peter Norman stood his ground when it mattered most. And in that stillness, he became immortal. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that inspire action.